Any one of your deployment arrows can be used for continuous integration. You can do integration between any Salesforce org, any developer project, and any content repository, either as the source or the destination. To get started with continuous integration, right-click an arrow and choose the continuous integration option. In this case, we're going from a developer project to a real Salesforce account. There's two main styles of continuous integration. The first will calculate the differences between the source and the destination and make the destination look like the source. And this is triggered whenever the source changes. So when this developer project changes, we'll look at a certain selected metadata types and we'll move any changes, any differences between the source and the destination to the destination for the integration. The other style of integration is when the deployment history changes. So when a deployment comes into the source, we mimic that deployment and replay it to the destination. So that is much more intelligent strategy where we take all of the settings and the design of the incoming deployment and use that to create a successful deployment to the destination. So let's try that. We can see all of our different incoming deployments to this developer project. And in this case, it just created a single custom object. You can filter these deployments either by username or job name so that you can set it up to where only certain deployments are used for integration. And to perform the integration, it looks very much like our other push interface. One difference is you can either use the source deployment settings that were used to make the original deployment, or you can change those to be custom for this particular integration arrow. So you can either test it or you can actually do it. So you can test it and see that there were no errors here, and it was going to move this custom object into the destination. You can see the job lists that were generated over here. There's nothing to delete, and we're going to create this custom object. And if you like this, if you think this is the type of deployment that you want this arrow to conduct, you can move it to roll back all changes if there's an error and schedule it as an integration. And this works just like all of the other things that you can schedule. So you might say a recurring event. This is when you check for the integration. And let's check every hour. And if there's a change on that developer project, then whatever was deployed there into that project, move it to the destination. Now let's make a change on that source project. So we go to our integration arrow here. Let's create an asset on that destination. Nothing to delete. Let's do a real deployment onto that developer project. And of course that's very fast because all it's doing is moving the file over. And so now when we go back to the continuous integration interface, we'll watch and see if the developer project has changed since the last time we tried it. The metadata filter looks good. We just moved an object. And now let's do a test. And so now it moved the object that was just created from the incoming deployment to the destination org, and that was successful. So very, very powerful tools here for continuous integration, either between projects, content repositories, or actual Salesforce orgs. Now we're going to look at the example of how to set up a content repository and move things into there, to push anything in there with continuous integration. So here I am at GitHub, and I'm going to create a new repository. Let's call it Movie Demo. And it gives me the connection string right here in their interface. Now let's go back to Snapshot, and I'm going to double click my developer repo and I'm going to set it up as a remote repository. My pull commands will be just what GitHub just gave me. The folder is going to be Movie Demo. The push commands look fine. In settings, be sure that my project name is Movie Demo. And now let's test the command line. And it worked. And let's open the project folder. There it is. You can see it's a Git project with nothing in it. And now let's take a snapshot with nothing in it as well. And so now this is all set up as a destination. And just to show you how that works, we can now go to continuous integration. And let's see here. Here's a bunch of custom objects from this last deployment over here. And let's choose that. And let's use now the destination is a content repository. Let's try it out. And we see that it has created and committed those files to the repository. Going back to GitHub, we see that there's one history event, and here are the files in the repo. So very, very simple to set up a content repository either as the source or the destination, and to freely do continuous integration or metadata deployments between any Salesforce org, any content repository, or any local developer project. And again, the repos and the projects can be in Salesforce DX or metadata API format.